Pastor Mytch, who is going to be our Different Lens speaker today, I met maybe 4 years ago at a conference down in Arizona. At the time, I think both of us were serving in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Pastor Mytch worked for an Episcopal church there and also for the Synod, but she's originally from Haiti, and I know she has also called home Chicago, Senegal, Southern California outside of LA, and this morning we find her in Fresno, California. So she carries with her a passion for serving the last, the lost, and the least, with a special interest in refugee resettlement, multicultural settings, and interreligious dialogue, and addressing issues of racial injustice. She's also a dancer and always eager to share her Haitian culture with others. So we'll get to hear a bit of her story today and how she finds herself in the biblical story through the lens of the Syrophoenician woman. From the Gospel of Mark, the 7th chapter. From there he set out and went away to the region of Tyre. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know that he was there, yet he could not escape notice. But a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit immediately heard about him, and she came and bowed at his feet. Now the woman was a Gentile of Syrophoenician origin. She begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter, and he said to her, "Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs." But she answered him, "Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." And then he said to her, "For saying that, you may go. The demon has left your daughter." So she went home, found the child lying on the bed, and the demon gone. So I'm going to put Pastor Mytch into the stream here too and take out our audio. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Pastor Holly. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's good to have you here. And I was reading in the chat, which it occurs to me that you probably can't see, that Peter Wiemeyer, who's one of our members, is met you at Holden Village during Haiti Week, which actually I was there for that too, now that I think about it.
Really?
But anyway, yeah, and he says
so that's when you met me already.
Yeah, probably. Although there's like 400 people there during that time, right? So
no, if you were there, because I was one of the faculty members.
Right. Yep. I absolutely remember that.
Yeah.
With Renee and John and anyway, Peter remembers you pulling him out onto the dance floor. So
hi Peter, I saw the comment too, but I don't know how to insert to him. I was going to, but I'm like, oh, there's no way I can do it. Hi Peter.
There you go. So each month with this Different Lens series, we remind ourselves that each person reads the Bible and the world through multiple lenses related to who they are and how they were raised and what kinds of things have happened to them in their lives and what they've learned along the way and what society has taught us, which also includes being handed a way to read the Bible and different ways of interpreting the Bible from theologians down through the years, often without us even becoming aware that we know what we know is an interpretation. It just gets handed to us as how things are. This is what we remind ourselves of each month. Most of those voices that have gotten passed down have been white men, and their perspective is valid, but needs to be known as a perspective, which allows space for others to have different perspectives, both on how we're interpreting life events and how we interpret the Bible. So when others have approached the text and done good work studying it, they sometimes find new insights and understandings that are more helpful to our time and place or to particular groups of people. And they might be old insights and understandings that just didn't get widely passed around because of who was listened to and who was not. Pastor Mytch and I talked on Friday about the Syrophoenician woman and your own resonance with that story, Mytch. So where do you want to start in unpacking your sacred story and its connection to that sacred story?
Well, I hope you all have time, right? Yes. You know, I remember the first time that I read that story. And as soon as I start reading it, I'm like, oh my God, this woman, we have things in common.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see myself in her shoes when she approached Jesus, because Jesus came to the place that is not Jesus' place. It is her place. But she was not allowed to go because of the men. Because it was not the thing at the time where, as a woman, it's a men turf, as they say. And Jesus said that don't tell people that I'm here. But the women, for some reason, she heard about it, and then she went. And then she asked to talk with Jesus. And then when she got there, she actually she advocated for her daughter, who was sick at the time, possessed by a demon. And everybody knows, possessing by a demon is a way that when you possess, you cannot be in the society. So she asked for her daughter to be restored, and then she knows Jesus can do it. But the response that she gets from Jesus is, I am not here for you. I'm here for the children. And then you mention it, the Israelites, not the little kids. And then Jesus said, I need to feed the children first, and then I don't have anything for the dog. And here is the thing. When I read that story, even though I said I see myself in her shoes, when I left Haiti, 21 years ago, and then I moved to United States. And to me, I felt that I came to a place where I know there is hope. And then, like the woman who came to the place where Jesus was, she knows that she will find hope. She will find what she's looking for. The reason that she came, she will find it. And then that's what happened to me too. So I came here to find hope, for a better life, to be alive, because of the circumstances that we had to flee Haiti. And then when I came here, why I encountered for the first time in my life is racism. I didn't know I was Black until I moved to United States. In Haiti, because of my I am lighter than most of the Haitian, I had privilege. And then when I came here, all my privilege was gone. And then I am part of the minority that doesn't have privilege. In Haiti, I was in the minority that has privilege, but here I am the minority that doesn't have privilege. And then it's blew my mind. And then I went through so many things here. But the thing is, like the women, she knows that Jesus can help. I know here I can get it, but it wasn't easy to find it because I think I was considered like the dog. We need to the children need to feed first, and then you all listening, we all know who the children is in the case. And when we talk about United States in the context that we are living now, it's all the white people. And then the non-white, the bi POC might be considered like the dogs. But the women, she knows who Jesus is. She knows Jesus is the Messiah. She said to him, Sir, even the dogs under the table eat the children left over. She claimed herself to be a human being. She is a human being. There is no difference between me and the children that you are talking about, sir, because you are the Messiah.
Yeah. And I like that.
Yeah.
That piece from the poem that says, I'll play your game if that's what you need me to do. I'll bow down before you because you don't see me as one of those children, but only as a way to get what she needs for her daughter. Mm-hmm.
So can you have imagined how many mothers, how many parents who would play that game just to heal their children, just for the children to have food in the table, just for them to have a better life. Yeah. Playing that game in a society that sometimes tells us you're not a human being. Your daughter is not, your son is not, your family is not a human being. But she ended up playing the game with Jesus. But deep down, Jesus, to me, it's a no question. Jesus knows that the woman knows who he is.
Mm-hmm.
He knows. There's no question about it. You know, and then when she said that, you know, Jesus, I don't know, he doesn't say in the Bible that Jesus was surprised or not. But the only thing that he said to her, go back home. Go back home.
Mm-hmm.
And your daughter is healed. She is. Because she has the gut to stand up for herself, to advocate for her child, to advocate. To me, this is an advocacy for all the people who are coming after.
Yes.
She said, I know you can do it, and I'm here as a human being in a place where there is no border anywhere in the world because I'm a human being. If you can get it, if the children can have the crumb, I can have them too. Because I am made at the image of God.
And the hope would be that the next time a Syrophoenician woman or any other person who's not considered one of the children of God in Jesus' sentence there, Jesus has hopefully learned something about who and expanded his own understanding of his own call through that story.
Exactly, because the call is not the call only for the children or the Israelite. As a Messiah, you are the Messiah of all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Regardless, there is no exception.
So one thing that's striking to me about this story is that it's possible that this woman has had to do this more times than just the once, but we only get the one story. And my guess is that for you, having discovered racism here in the United States as an adult, you've had to do that advocacy for yourself and your family more than one time.
I do. And then it is exhausting. And then I'm wondering too, if she was exhausting when after Jesus said the sentence to her about the dog, like, this is exhausting that you have to do it over and over and over again. And sometimes the same people.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it. It is exhausting. And then sometimes you're like, didn't you hear me? You know, don't you see the news? Don't you read? Don't you educate yourself? You know, and then especially when you know it's happened in the church, you're like, what about the Bible? What you are preaching, love and everything. Why don't we follow? It is exhausting.
Yeah.
And sometimes it make me very sad because you like when people, especially of faith, are going to learn.
When is that going to happen? When are we going to learn? I mean, we're
I
working
don't
on
know.
ourselves right now, but how to turn that education into action is our next step in figuring that out.
Yeah. And I was very, you know, every time I read that story, there's that part of the dog that actually get into me because I came in a culture, it's not the dog. Here, you know, compare someone to a dog. Sometimes it could be a good thing because I know some people don't get the treat that the dogs have in some households. But in the Haitian culture, comparing somebody to dogs, it's a very big offense. It's you put that person very low.
Mm-hmm.
In this, because every time that I read it, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm like, yeah, how can you do that? Because I'm Haitian. Dogs, we don't see dogs like here in the US. We say it. We don't call them our kid. We don't dress them. We don't take them to hotel, dog hotel. We don't do that. We don't do bad thing to dog. We feed them, but we don't do that. Those feet are reserved for human beings.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a dog.
No offense to people who have dogs. I am not saying that you should not do that, but it's my experience. So please.
Yeah, there was a story about that, something like that on NPR this morning with someone who was in a concentration camp, figuring out that they were feeding the rabbits and the people in the concentration camp because they were conducting experiments, so figuring out how to get food from the rabbits that the Nazis were feeding them. So there would be another example.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Anything else you want to share with us about that journey, or share with us in general, or that story?
Well, one other thing by reading the story, there's the part of Jesus, where Jesus learns that he's the Messiah of all of them. He's the Christ of all of them. Everybody. And then also it's a lesson for us too. Because at the end, Jesus sent her home and then said the saying that her child is go back home where you will find that the demon has gone out of your daughter. Jesus, even Jesus didn't see her, the child, but he has restored that child in the society back to society. And then I think sometimes for some of us who want to be an ally, we need to remember, to keep that in mind, that our role as an ally is to always restore people to the society, not as being a Messiah, because you will never be the Messiah or the Savior, especially if you don't do that, but you actually journey with that person, to help that happen. You do it very humble, and then with that person. And then also, that's a good lesson today, to see the world like Christ see it. Because when Jesus get to see that woman after she talks with him, he gets to acknowledge her pain. He gets to acknowledge her pain as a mother, and then also acknowledge our pain as well when we cried out to Jesus. If we talk to him saying, yes, even the crumb, I can get it to God. I get it too.
Yeah.
So it's a way for us. Jesus sees us and then acknowledges us and hears us. And then I think this is what we are, as Christians, especially in human being, when we get to see our neighbors as well. We get to see the people around us. We get to hear them. If we want to be an ally.
Yeah, those are wise words. So restoring people to community is the task always before us. And maybe the way that plays out that I've been thinking about for this community, for Spirit Garage, is thinking about, for instance, when we have meals and someone shows up who's not a part of our community, the best way to well, let me just say, I was reading this book, Jack Marion Williamson, the person who wrote Lila, and I don't know. Anyway, there's a part of that book where Jack is homeless in this book, and so he experiences all the time going to churches and having people notice that he's homeless and figure out how to serve him, hand him food right away, tell him, treat him in such a way that they are bending over backwards, which would be the opposite, the serving people, in order to feed him, which lets him know that they know that he's not one of them. He's a person who's homeless. So in our community, when we have meals, we can figure out how to just everybody be part of the community and eat food along with people, instead of making sure people know, treating them in such a way that they would know that they were being seen as something different. Marilyn Robinson, yes, thank you, Julie. that's restoring people to community rather than setting them aside as people to serve, rather than people that we are neighbors with. And you and I talked about that in terms of when you go to places like Haiti too, and what as a white person or a person from the United States going there, like what kind of what do you carry with you in terms of your attitude, and how do people from Haiti also learn to feel as if they are, I don't know. I feel like I want to let you say it instead of me saying it. Can you can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I as I shared with you, I took people to Haiti with me, and then I've been into extreme, being Haitian, living in Haiti, and also serve the ELCA in West Africa. So I was, as a missionary of ELCA, even though I was not a white person, but I had power. So when I took people to Haiti, I always tell them, you need to leave behind you your idea of power, because the Haitian people look at you as somebody who has power, because what happened since Christianity has come to the Haitian, they always give. So we always associate, as Haitian, associate white people with money and power. And then white people always come with money and power too. So what I always tell people, once you do that, you take the dignity of the person, because what they have, they always think that you will do for them. And then you come with that idea too. So when you always do for people, the person cannot do anything for themselves, so you take that dignity from that person. And in this person, when a person doesn't have a dignity anymore, it's there is no human in that person, there's no soul in it anymore. So I always invite people, when you go to Haiti, you don't go to do anything, you go to be with the people, to listen to them, to share stories with them, and to be humble, vulnerable at the same time. So you just listen, and then I know it's hard to leave your power behind you because you're American. This is what it is. But it is not, because you are Christian, as we are people of faith, and then as people of faith, we use our vulnerability. We journey with people on the road. So that's all. I always tell people that. And then sometimes people said, "Oh, so when I go to Haiti, what I'm gonna do?" I'm like, "You're not gonna do anything. You're just gonna be."
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's hard to understand the difference between being and doing. When American Christian are going to a third world country, because they think that they are the savior. You're gonna sometimes you might be a burden than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can export and import a lot of things, some of which could be good and some of which could be bad.
Yeah. And I always tell people, to me, I cannot understand. And then that's another thing about the seeing too. I disagree with when group goes to Haiti or any place, any other place, just to do the painting. Sometimes I'm thinking, don't you think that you're gonna paint the house? I'm like, don't you think that people who live there, they have people who can, there's a Haitian who can do the painting too?
Yeah,
So
that's right. Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, you're not helping, because you are taking money away from the Haitian people, because they would, instead of paying somebody else to do it, and then you pay your own money to go to Haiti and then to do the painting. So you take money, you take food away from parents to feed their children, money to send them to school by doing this. One time I told the group, if you want to do it, you're going to have to pay the people who usually paint. For every hour you work, you pay the other people.
Good.
So
That's
they will
good.
not do anything. You will do the work, but they get paid, so you don't get paid. So So to me, it's part of the seeing. It's part of the restore people to the community, because because education is very important in Haiti too. So once you come, you take that money from them, the money that will allow them to send their kid to school. So that's mean you taking them out of that community. They it's like you are the disease. You bring the disease to them.
Yeah, we have to work at being better about that. The accompaniment, always paying attention to that. In Haiti or on Lake Street, any of those places. I want to thank you for your time today, Mytch, and I want to ask you a few fun questions before we let you go so you can lead your own worship service. But let me thank you for your time and for your energy also, and allowing us to learn from you and the stories that you've had to live and gotten to live, and the wisdom that has come with that, and for the continued work that you do with the whole church, including us today. What book, fiction or non, has captured your attention lately, or do you wish all white people would read?
One of them, I would say it's my grandmother's hand.
Resma Menakem.
Yes.
Grandmother's hands. Debbie, Debbie or Julie, if you can post that, that would be great. Yeah, I'm working through that book with a group of colleagues right now. So
yeah, that's a good one. And also, there's the one about white privilege. I would say all the books, D'Angelo, D'Angelo writes. They're all good thing too to read.
Yeah, we had about 14 people work through those books today, this year, very slowly. So the white fragility is what you're trying to think of.
Exactly. And then there's another one. Okay, I am in my church. Let me just grab one.
Okay.
I don't know if you read that one too. It's Waking Up White by Debbie Irving.
Yeah, I know Adrian has read it, but I have not. So that's a good one. Good suggestion.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Right.
Those are all the books. I have a list on my shelf there.
Good.
And then also, I don't know if you seen the documentary 13th.
Yes.
And then there is one that came out that's called 14th now.
Oh.
It is on Netflix. Yes, I watch it.
Okay, good.
It's about citizenship. It's very good.
Great, good. Thanks for that suggestion. 13th was, I think, on our list of anti-racism challenges in December. So some people I know watched it then.
There's 14 too. And then the other one too, it's a book too, I Am Not Your Negro. By James Baldwin.
Yep.
It is on Netflix, and then there's the book too.
Yep. Okay, what song always makes you dance? What song always makes you dance?
Haitian song.
All right, you should send us a link to one of them.
I can do that. Haitian songs, a lot of them. So some of them, but we have genre in Haiti. We have what we call the roots. That we have some groups who would go and then go back to the African roots. Even though every music we have in Haiti has that, but some of them just do that.
Yeah.
And then also we had what we call the compa. The compa it's a different way of dancing. So I love this. So I listen to Haitian music all the time.
Awesome.
Especially when I'm cooking.
Yes, good. How about a favorite podcast? Do you listen to podcasts at all?
I listen to Sean King.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and then I listen to Krista Tippett on Being.
Yes, that's who we were talking about when I
saw that too.
Yep. And assuming heaven exists and God has a voice, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive?
Oh, wow. Whoa. That's a good one. I love that one. Whoa. Wow.
I hope that that's exactly what God says when you.
Exactly. And this
Oh
is so
wow!
surprised about. Oh wow! Look at her. But I know God already sees me all the time. But I think what I would want, I don't know, to hear Him sing. That's a good question. Oh wow! Yes.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah.
And then, can you close us with a poem or a quote that speaks to you?
Oh yes. Let's see. Let me give you a quote from my mother.
Okay.
It's about the it's about creation. It's about in the environment. She taught me. She said to me when my mother used to be I don't know. She was not a model, but she was a model. She walked a runway all by herself. But so and then she would tell me when you're walking, you need to make contact with the ground, with earth. So when every time you step, the ground need to fill you, and then you need to fill the ground too. And then you saying that I am touching you in a way. So make connection and then feel the Mother Earth talking with me. So as a very young age, I've learned, how to make contact with Mother Earth and then to respect it. Because when you make contact with something or somebody, there's a different dynamic between the two of you. So it's make me respect everything nature, the earth, the animals, and then also the plants, everything. So because of that, and then she said you need to do that, so make contact with it. So
with the earth.
so as I'm gonna say goodbye to you all now, I every time you walk and then you step on the ground, remember that you need to make contact with the earth. So I think there's something, I don't know, scientific happen. I don't know. But there's something between earth and me whenever I'm walking. So I can feel it. I can feel this connection. So I hope all of you will feel that connection, and that will change something. If you haven't yet, I will say that will change something in you when you touch the ground. You will remember that my mother said to me, you need to make contact with the earth.
Thank you for that.
This way.
Pastor Mytch.
Yeah.
We will thank you for your time with us today, and enjoy your next service with your people out in Fresno, and enjoy the beautiful day too. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yes, great to have you here.
Bye, everyone.